What's up, guys? Casey Mills here, aka Poker Mama. I am a longtime cash game player. I play 2-5 all the way up to about 10 and a quarter. Occasionally will dabble in the 25-50, even 50-100 streets. A few years ago, I decided to try my hand at poker tournaments. Since then, I've got about 500K in Hendon Mob live earnings. I've won 4 World Series of Poker circuit rings, all in open events. And we've got 1 WPT 5K main event final table. I love to have fun. I really love to win. Welcome to my vlog. I am headed to the lodge in Austin, Texas for some high stakes cash poker. 1025 with some big names, Rampage Poker, Wolfgang, as well as high stakes regs like Esther and Crypto Max. Just to add some extra stress and decision-making fatigue, I will have to play from 2 in the morning to 7 a.m. because this is a 24-hour live stream, starting from the lowest stakes and ending with the highest. It will be a 5K come-in with match the stacks. I'm really excited and a little bit nervous. Let's see what we can do. All right, we've made it to the lodge for this 10-25 game, but as is often the case, it turned into more of a 10-25-50-100. Because of that, I think there's more to reflect on some of these hands than maybe usual, so let's just get straight into them. Our first big hand of the night starts with us opening the ace queen of diamonds on the button. Esther makes the call from the small blind, and Crypto Max comes along from the straddle. We see a flop of 9 ace 5 2 spades. Esther and Crypto Max check it over to us and we c-bet for just over 40% pot. Crypto Max decides to take this as a check raise for a little over 3x from out of position. We have a clear call, so on this turn we get the 4 of hearts. Crypto Max leads out for 2K. When he leads for this half pot sizing, it really feels like a flush draw that's trying to name a cheap price to get to the river. However, we do decide to just call here and we go to a river. Unfortunately, it is the 4 of spades and Crypto Max decides to put us in. Now, with only 4K left to call, although we are getting good odds on a call here, because we have him narrowed down to exactly the type of holding he has, I am able to make the fold here and get away without losing my last 4K. But reflecting back on this hand, I think I do prefer a jam on the turn. Oh! Wait just a second. I found out some incredible news. I'm headed to Prague, WSOP Prague, bracelet events in Europe. Can you imagine? A 5K main, a 1K ladies championship. It's all happening March 30th through April 12th. I hope you guys will join me. See you guys there. In this next hand, the straddle is on to 100. We've got about 9K, 90 big blinds, and we look down at ace king off in the hijack. We open it up to 300, and Crypto Max from the small blind 3 bets to 1500. Brian, who I know to be a fairly tight player at these stakes, cold calls the 3-bet. Now we have a real decision with our ace king off. Ace king off is a hand that does like to jam for large amounts of big blinds pre in these deep stack cash games. The fact that we're multi-way makes me lean towards wanting to take an aggressive action even more so. However, we are in position and likely dominating other ace-x holdings. Brian is likely to have a hand like he does. When people cold call 3-bets, they often have hands like 8s through jacks, and applying a lot of pressure to these holdings pre-flop may just be our best option. It's important to note 50-100 is not my standard game, and maybe some of you guys have been there, but I was scared. Scared to stick 9K in the middle with ace king offsuit and just see it evaporate in front of my eyes. It's hard for me to share this hand, but it's all about getting better and executing next time. So let's see what happens. I decided to take a more conservative approach and I just flatted with the ace king off. There is nothing wrong with calling with this hand on occasion and mixing it up. Esther, who had called our open from the cutoff, decides to make the call as well and we go 4 ways to a flop. We see a flop of 4-9 ace with 2 hearts. Crypto Max and Brian check it over to us and I decide this is a great spot to c-bet. We're likely ahead of other ace-x combos. We also have the ace of hearts in hand, which makes it less likely our opponents are going to have ace-x of heart combinations. I think because we're multi-way, I get to size down as far as my c-bet. I'd like to see about a 1/3 sized bet here. We end up going a little larger. I go about half pot. Everyone quickly folds and we take down a 6K pot. I'm not in love with the way I played it, but a win's a win and we're gonna take it and move on to the next. This next hand I want to talk about briefly because it's interesting when thinking about future game dynamics. It's a limped pot and we're in the small blind. It's $25 for us to make the call, and although I think fold is a great option, we do decide to play this one and we go to a four-way flop of 8-5 ace with 2 hearts. We have bottom pair and the queen of hearts. Esther leads out for 100. I think with our particular hand, putting in a raise here is pretty interesting, and I actually would like it often enough. I have played with Esther before though, and I know she tends to be very sticky and very aggressive, which is not a reason for me to not bet her here. Actually, sometimes it can be just the opposite, but we do decide to go to the turn, and the turn pairs the ace. Now this takes away many value combinations from Esther's hand. However, it does not increase our equity in any way. We check it over to Esther and she puts in a full pot size bet of 1K. We could try to play our hand as a bluff catcher and get really sticky here, but with only bottom pair, losing to even 8x, we decide to just let this one go. Although our spidey senses are tingling a bit, I think it's important sometimes to let players get away with a little something, and then next time when you have more equity or a better bluff catcher, you can actually win a bigger pot because they think that you'll fold quite easily. Often enough, you'll end up getting all your chips plus some in a better spot. In this hand, Rampage opens pocket nines from under the gun. We 3-bet the ace-king suited from the cutoff, and Brian puts in the cold 4-bet from the straddle position. Once Rampage folds, we have a decision on how we want to play our ace-king suited. The 100 is not on, it's only the 50. It's later in the stream, we've gained confidence. I know I was pretty annoyed at myself for taking a more passive line earlier in the stream. I decide no more. I jam my ace-king suited here. Brian quickly calls with the ace-king off. We find ourselves in a spot where we're likely to chop, and that's exactly what happens. I just wanted to highlight, I don't always play ace-king suited or ace-king off so conservatively as earlier in the stream. Game flow, dynamics, our confidence, all of these things come into play as far as how we will play our hands at any given time. This next hand is interesting because sometimes it's not the chips you win, but it's the chips you don't lose. Rampage opens up from the cutoff and Big Raj calls on the button. We're in the straddle position and we decide to make the call with king queen offsuit. We get a flop of queen jack jack, top pair, great kicker. We have no heart. We check it over here and both our opponents check back. Very often with top pair and a great kicker, people will think that putting some money in this pot is a great idea. However, I really like playing these middling, very connected, flush drawy boards conservative. So when the 9 of spades bringing double flush draw and connecting the board even more hits on the turn, we check again. Big Raj puts out a bet of only 100 and both Rampage and I make the call. Now on the river, the 5 of hearts brings in the flush, and again, I think this is just a spot where we just don't love our hand. When Big Raj makes a bet of only 300 and we're monkey in the middle with Rampage behind and having called the turn bet, I decide to just fold here and we save a little money, correctly reading our opponents as having us beat. As we can see here, Big Raj had made a full house on the turn and we're on to the next hand. This next hand is one of my favorites and you'll soon see why. At 25.50, Big Raj limps from the low jack and we open it up 4x from the hijack. We get multiple callers and we go to a flop of 8-8 deuce 2 hearts. Considering there was no 3-betting pre, our opponents can have an 8 in their hand, but we often are going to be up against some flush draws, some backdoor draws, as well as smaller pairs, and often enough our hand will be best. We c-bet about 25% pot on this paired board multi-way. Esther, next to act, quickly raises to 1100. Oh no, we have an overpair and we're getting raised on a paired board multi-way. While this can seem terrifying, I think it's important to know Esther's very aggressive. She's seen us fold before. And what kind of hands do I have? I was the pre-flop aggressor. It's much less likely that I have an 8 here, and Esther knows that. I'm definitely not ready to fold at this point. When the 3 of hearts hits the turn, it could feel like doom for our hand. However, I'm unconvinced that this has definitely made Esther a flush. While that is in the range of hands she would raise on the flop, I do feel Esther is often going to be attacking what she feels like is a capped range from opponent she knows is capable of folding versus multiple streets of aggression. Also, having seen her play style, I wouldn't be surprised if she chose to slow down on her flushes here by checking back turn and looking to get more value on the river. When she fires out a pot-sized bet, I fairly quickly decide we're going to make this call. We head to a river, which is the 9 of spades. I really disliked this river card. I mean, I'm glad it's not a 4th heart, but the 9 is definitely in the range of hands. I thought that she could have been raising here on the turn when she is raising value combos. It would be an overpair to the board and not always 3-bet pre-flop, although Esther may be more likely to 3-bet this hand than others. I check it over once more. Esther now bets 5K into 9. I only have 7K behind. Something just feels off about the way she looks, the way she's betting, her sizings. My radars and my senses are going off. I think I have a pretty good bluff catcher here, and I take quite a bit of time, but we do make the call in this pot that now swells to just under $20,000. We get the nice call as she mucks her hand, and we are ecstatic to win this pot by trusting our read and following through by putting our chips in the middle. We've gained confidence as the stream has gone on and very excited to take this one down. All right, this is going to be our last hand of the night. It is almost 7 in the morning. We can't help it. We are tired. But after adding on 5K, so being in for 15, our stack is just over 19K, and we decide to raise from the cutoff ace-6 offsuit. There's no straddle on, it's just 10, 25, 25, and Rampage out of the big blind makes the call. We head to a flop of king 6, 8, flopping bottom pair and the backdoor nut flush draw. Rampage checks it over, and we should be c-betting this flop about 3 out of every 4 times, but we do take this as a check. I really would have liked a bet here. We can get value out of straight draws, flush draws, worse 6x, as well as deny equity from hands that can outturn us. It also just makes our decisions easier on turns and rivers as we start to narrow the range and the game tree simplifies. The turn brings a 4 of hearts, and now Rampage leads for over pot. I do like my decision to go ahead and make this call here, as he is going to bet a lot of hands that we are ahead of. Straight draws, flush draws. He will have some king X and 8x, which is another reason why we could have simplified things by betting the flop and keeping the lead in this hand. And the river gets really interesting. It's the 9 of diamonds, and Rampage continues the story he told on the turn by going full pot. Now he can have some king X, some 2 pairs, other 1 pair holdings, as well as some weaker flushes, obviously ones not containing the ace of diamonds, and even a few straights. I think my image is really tight though. I haven't had any bluff spots on this stream, and overall playing quite snug. I decide it's time to get spicy and believe I can get Rampage to fold a lot of non-flush holdings. I go for it here, raising over 3x, and Rampage takes a little bit of time before calling with the queen high flush. I definitely wasn't trying to get Rampage to fold a flush here, so we have to take this one on the chin to end the night. This being my first vlog, I focused so much on poker, but whenever I go to Austin, I love to have a great time with friends. This trip, I went out with my girlfriend Jackie to the Betty. We took some cute girly photos. I also went to guest house with some friends, and I played in a high stakes home cash game as well. If you want to see more of this lifestyle stuff in the future, I can capture more video and put more of it in. Just let me know what you think in the comments.
All right, guys, that is a wrap on the Lodge live stream. I would rate my play at about a B- for this one. We were in for 15K, out for 14,335, so a tiny little loss. I am glad that I got to show you guys my strong reading abilities with the pocket tens. Definitely some things I think I would do differently. It's really important to have strong game selection to be a winning poker player. Always play at a buy-in level that you're comfortable with. Play when you're well rested and in a lineup that you feel confident in. I definitely noticed I wasn't as comfortable when we were at the 5,100 level, as I hadn't quite prepared for those level of stakes, although I should have been. It's really important to just execute and not have a lot of excuses. That's always my goal. I cannot wait to show you guys a stream where I feel like I execute at an A+ level. Let me know what you guys thought about this vlog in the comments, and if you don't mind, throw me a follow, a subscribe. I really appreciate it. See you guys soon.